Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot. We're having a weekly and daily breakout on Chainlink. I want to discuss that with you, show you some liquidation levels right above our heads and see what's driving the move based on the news. Guys, if you like this type of content, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell to get notified every time I put out one of these videos. Can we get to 1 billion likes? I'm sure we can. Now let's go into the content straight away. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of work on this RSI, but I'm gonna do it as usual as you look, so you can understand where I'm coming from and you don't end up just looking at lines that don't make any sense. If after watching this they still don't make any sense, that is absolutely fine. We had a breakout from this pattern in here, but that breakout has been a little bit disappointing. In terms of the retracement, we still have a higher low, but I'm sure that this move down in the price of Chainlink of over 40% has already trapped a lot of long traders. Definitely many of them have thrown the towel. As you can see in here, we are back to the area of value on Link. So that's alpha number one. We are in an area of value after a breakdown and a flush of longs. But going back to the RSI, if we place this line like this with the next pivot, assuming that this was a fake out, we either can agree on this is now a new breakout, which could be the first one if the previous one was a fake out, or if it wanna consider that this breakout was still successful because we already have a higher low, then you can say that my new line is just a layer 2 breakout. I hope you can see the subtle difference. It doesn't really matter that much. The point is, on the weekly, on Sunday, we confirm a breakout on Chainlink after putting a double bottom on the RSI. I hope that is a lot easier to swallow as a pill. Now, let's go into the price and let's see if we can do the same thing to the price. We have the falling wedge that we were calling a bullish pattern. We broke out and we started entering into the bleeding too much kind of retracement. We should have stopped at $13. At that point, we meet with previous resistance and support, but we went a little bit overextended. The good news is that we didn't need, so far, we haven't need to take the recent lows of $10. That will be a different story. But we bounce at 10.84 and we're meeting with this resistance. So I thought, why not we place the line like that? After all, it still connects at least with some highs in that area, so it makes a lot of sense. It looks kind of a parallel channel now to me. I'm gonna get rid of this particular target that belongs to the head and shoulder on the daily that is nested in this area here. We are reclaiming the support. That is bullish. And if we look at the daily, we are basically destroying the target of the head and shoulder. From the neck, we went down into 1093, 1084, and we are reclaiming the neckline, going straight into the resistance. So that is something bullish. We could be seeing a breakout from here. So let's go back to the weekly. Let's remember now that we have this breakout on the weekly and it could potentially give us a rally into resistance. That is 62, and I already have it in my chart. That is more or less around $21.5. If we manage to sustain this time, not like the previous time that we faked out or we went too deep for a higher low. Personally, it's looking pretty good to me because we have an area of value. We are starting to get a little bit of attention, but it's just 2%. Chainlink can go into 7% of attention, so we might be a little bit early, not in a bad way, in a good way. What we need to look now is if we manage to break out, what sort of resistance there is in the way until we get to $21.5. After all, that's a 60% upside, and in between there should be some challenges. The first challenge is the anchor VWAP to the highs of $29 that is now sitting at around $19, and that is an area of resistance and previous support. So definitely keep an eye for $19 to $20 psychological level, of course. Then at $17, we could be forming in here a double bottom. For that, the price needs to complete this move into the next order block, and if we can break out from here and hit that $19, come back, retest, and let's calculate the target of that from low to high. If we place it right there in the neckline, that can send us into $25. So one could bring the other one and help each other to continue putting breakouts, each time larger one, each time with a higher target. I think I want to be seeing that, and after all, we have higher highs and higher low on the weekly time frame structure in here, which is not something that we can say about other coins, and we have all-time highs at around 53. The retracement from these highs, the extension of one is sitting at 33 and the golden pocket at 47. On the daily, I don't have to put any line to see, but we have a breakout on the daily. Unfortunately, all the lines in here belong to the weekly. Let me just place it like that, and we are currently doing a retest of the daily breakout on Chainlink. let's hold that line because that could bring goodies as well for the weekly time frame for that retest that is also ongoing during this week, so we can continue going into 63 and with that seeing potentially prices of $22. Now there are some levels that we need to observe. There is this 14.5 that is kind of in the way and it could attract the price first. Each of these areas in here in the volume profile show areas that traders prefer to trade. There's a lot going on in here and now we are approaching it from the top. We need to defend the $13, guys. That is a level of support that I already mentioned, and the next resistance is at 13.8, and that is currently in the way to get that $14 liquidated. To be more precise, on the liquidation heat map, that is 14.47, and if we look at trading different, yeah, more or less makes sense. That is the peak of the liquidation level. After that, we have liquidations at 15.7. Below the price, we have a decent risk at 12.6. There is nothing really standing out in terms of risk, specifically coming from CryptoQuant, and we got two bullish news. One is a 9 out of 10, so let's have a look. Chainlink launches automated compliance engine. Built with Apex Group and Glyph, lets institutions enforce KYC AML on chain, and is pitched as the missing piece to unlock 100 trillion of tokenized assets. Whoa! Link pop 4% on launch. Then we have a 7 out of 10 only. 51.26 million in Link Live's centralized exchanges for self-custody and DeFi. As I mentioned, the socials are showing a spike, but this spike is just one of the highs that we already have in 2023 and in 2024. This kind of spike in here of 7% is the highest it's ever been in history for Link. So we can get a lot more attention from retail than what we are currently getting. Things are just starting to get heated. Notice as well something I didn't see before, maybe I said it in previous videos, that even though we have higher highs and higher lows on the weekly, the momentum that we just had is putting a bearish divergence for Chainlink. So because of that, I'm just gonna keep this line pointing down in here in case we are already due for a new bearish divergence or anything like that. If we get into a price of 75, into an RSI of 75, that corresponds with a price of $35, and that will be again another higher high in the price but a lower low in the momentum. So within that range where we are still below that 78, we are at the 75 or 73 or anything like that, we could actually calculate. I'm thinking using a bit of math, where is the price in here where we are in the territory of a new bearish divergence. Why am I saying that? Because when you get bearish divergences, you tend to continue having them. Once you get the first, you get another one. It's like when you go to the pub, you get just one beer, you tell your friends, and then you end up drinking a lot more. So if I was you, I would be a little bit forgiving with the price action and let it have another bearish divergence in this range. If we get that high, of course, I'm not assuming we're gonna get that high, but if we get there, I'm tempted to think that we are not going to get a breakout beyond this yellow trend line. That can still bring new highs in the price. We can even put an all-time high. Let me remember, the all-time high is 53. You can put all-time high by getting in here, pinching it, coming very low and then hitting it again, and very low and hitting it again. That is kind of the recipe to achieve all-time highs. Cheating, never crossing that line, staying, respecting that rule, and still putting an all-time high. I've seen it so many times. Alright guys, I hope you appreciate the update on Chainlink. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.